So for several videos now, I've been working on creating a new style of play, and I think I'm getting better. First try, I actually ended up going with a natural focus, and we'll get to that in a bit. And then the second time, I decided to go for more like human supremacist, and it's not entirely bad except for the whole naked and afraid kind of thing. And I really actually do want to do a plug here. There's a mod I like more than the main popular one, and it's just called Prepare Moderately, I believe is it. You can see it, the text in the center of the screen. They do a great job of giving you a balanced, reasonable way of creating ideal character. For my second character, things did actually go a little bit differently because for some reason, as you can see here, I went back to change the settings for the one class, and then I realized I forgot to actually make sure my character doesn't have any, problems. But I'm sure that'll be fine, right? Right? So, for those of you who aren't aware, Naked and Afraid is really hard. And then adding on to the fact that they value nature more than themselves makes it even harder. I cannot cut trees. I cannot kill animals. I basically have to try to live in harmony with all of those things. And, it's not exactly the best idea I've ever had. You can pull it off with a group. It's alright. Like, you suffer some huge penalties, especially at the beginning. But I mean, once the game gets moving, your character tends to just get past those problems and you survive. But I mean, when you have like no food, no clothes, no shelter, it tends to backfire a little bit. Now, I'm showing two videos at the same time because there's actually like a reason. Originally, I was thinking of this as being like a single video consisting of 3 clipped together stories, and I was going to call it A Tale of 3 Cities. Kind of a reference to A Tale of 2 Cities. That's okay. It didn't actually come out that way. One of them is actually going to turn into its entire own story, and it's really good, and I like it. Unfortunately, it's going to take me a while to actually put it together. But anyway, this will be my supremacist build. He was supposed to be distinct from the other 2 builds because the other 2 builds were naturalists. This one is a story about a guy who only wants to take care of himself. And obviously, it tends to make things, just a little easier. Now, the reason I don't actually have that much footage for the supremacist build is something I already kind of hinted at. And if you're paying attention, you've maybe possibly noticed something a little bit odd. And, that's because there is something slightly wrong with this character. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like, he's finished his first day. He gathered some berries and cut down some trees. Yeah. Awkward. So the majority of what is supposed to be like actually a lot of footage all bunched together into like a 20-minute clip, and that it's actually going to be coming out to basically footage for like a 6-minute clip and a 1-minute clip and maybe a 5-minute clip. Well, one of them's going to be a little longer, is because of that. And I also want to point out something you'll notice that I have decided to get rid of. I forgot it was kind of running, honestly. I kind of enjoy it on easy. When you're playing like really hard, man, the agriculture farming mod really kicks your butt. I would also point out like the ridiculously large structure that I'm putting up is large. And just to be clear, those little weird yellow piles next to the trees are like plant shavings that you can use to compost and create higher quality forest soil, which is a really efficient process if you have lots of technology. It actually turns like almost any land you want into like extremely high value, high productive land. And you can grow crops like really fast. Thus allowing you to have a very small work field instead of, huge expansive fields or hydroponics. It's like an outdoor hydroponics. And, I mean, it's a good mod, like, if you want to, like, really, like, have things, because, like, they have, like, tilled soil, rich soil. The modifier gets up to like 200% or something, ridiculously high, so your crops can grow really fast, like corn in just a month, if I remember right. I'll also take a moment to point out that red brick over there is a part of that mod. It adds the brick, and it's like a cheap, reliable, semi-attractive tile. Actually, using it as flooring is extremely positive and effective, and it's cheap, it's lightweight, and easy to get and acquire. I'll also take a moment to say that this is roughly where I really kind of start regretting some of the decisions I made. Like the building size is just ridiculously huge. It's the end of day 2 at this point, or I believe it's 2 at this point. I'm losing track because I've been editing 2 times at the same time. And by the end of day 1, honestly, you need a little place where your person can sleep, like isolated, a small like 2x2 room at most. It doesn't need to be big, and a couple traps nearby, because if you don't have traps, you're going to run into a problem, because you really cannot rely on melee fighting, because it's just you, and if something goes wrong, you're in trouble. So, I mean, obviously, everything is fine. There's no problems or emergencies or anything to worry about with that. I mean, you know, we're gonna have some torches, and man, see, it's like 2 torches for this guy is like overkill. He doesn't need... Almost everything I'm doing is just too much. And then you add in the fact that the farming mod does what it does, and it is just the cherry on the top, and man, it's just brutal to play with. I guess what I'm saying is that there were some problems with this fort. Namely, I'm spending way too much time and energy just growing food. I think this would be the first one, and I'm pretty sure, like, during it, I was still mentally, like, thinking on easy, like, no real dangers and stuff. I'd kind of gotten complacent and was ignoring those things, but, I mean, they are really seriously a problem, and if you don't deal with them, they're going to get you really quickly, and on the base game, you just don't have the time or the resources. See, it's like, my person's getting crazy, my person's having meltdowns. I was expecting to have issues like that. It just would have gone better from a productive, like, setup perspective if I had, you know, taken the time to make sure that my character, like, didn't waste energy. I don't need that much rice fields. I don't need that much wood. I don't need that big of a structure. I should have torn down the structure and built a much smaller one. I had plenty of resources there to do it. That would have been great. Then focus on building like little trap structures to help me catch monsters and stuff, and I would have survived pretty well. And that leads us to this little tidbit. Yeah, so it happened to be like right next to my character. I don't even have a weapon. I honestly don't know what I was thinking of in any of this. I really think I'd spent too long playing on easy, and I'd forgotten, like, you know, there's actually, like, things that can go wrong on hard mode. Like, other than, like, little boring things. Like, you know, I'm trying to think of what happened on easy, and honestly, again, my problem with the easy difficulty is I don't know what went wrong. I cannot think of a single thing to have significantly gone wrong at all during that time. And you will note my character is basically getting mauled to death by a gazelle, which is probably one of the most humiliating deaths I've ever had.